In order. It's the Pledge of Allegiance. So we still do the pledge?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just play. Hey, can we get a flag or something? Shoot. Pretend like there's a flag, people.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of
Flag
the
of the
United States of America.
and
to the
the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty
justice.
and justice for all.
All right, let it be known that all members are present except for Jim Tomsky. There are no citizen comments tonight. And I'm going to read this statement real quick, just so that we have our I's dotted and T's crossed. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, Minnesota directive to residents to stay home, and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting of the Princeton School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone and other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it is not feasible for at least one board member, the superintendent, or the school district's legal counsel to be physically present at the regular meeting location, and that it is not feasible for the public to attend this meeting at the regular meeting location due to the health pandemic. Persons may monitor this meeting from a remote location by YouTube, our YouTube channel, Zoom, or possibly Facebook Live. All right, let's move on to board member committee reports. And I guess I will start. I had agenda planning with Ben. We just did it over the phone. And those special meetings that we were all part of the last few weeks. And that is it. Howard?
I missed the last meeting, but I was at the emergency meeting and a special meeting. And prior to that, we had a Hall of Fame committee meeting. And we canceled community ed and we canceled our policy committee meetings this month. And because policy is up to date and there was no point.
Okay. Eric?
I just finished with the finance committee meeting, and I think that's it.
Sue?
Besides the special meetings, I just finished with finance as well.
Okay. Deb?
Same here. I did finance just before this meeting and then the special meetings before.
Okay, thank you. Chad?
Yep, and I just had the special meetings, nothing else.
Okay. There is no student council member present. Ben, superintendent report?
Okay, Jess is going to give you a full update on distance learning, so I'll not share those remarks. The other major provisions in the executive order we've been working we're very pleased with our programming. Not satisfied. Every day we continually trying to improve in the child care components, serving tier 1 and tier 2 families, and also the provisions for the meals. Last week we served nearly 15,000 meals in our school district, and we believe that that is going to only grow. With every question that we get answered, new questions arise, and that's just on a daily basis. We're constantly monitoring, adjusting. Jason's been on his toes as it relates to lots of HR pieces with our over 500 employees. As you can imagine, there's just daily pieces that we need to get ironed out and work through. So, we have the changes that are happening now. I've been talking quite regularly with different legislators just on some of our worries that we have. Michelle will probably share some of those things as it relates to budget later on in the meeting. But just couldn't be more happy and pleased and thankful to all of our amazing staff and students and community. I think that we've adjusted the best that we possibly can under the circumstances, but we're going to be constantly trying to get better. That does not exclude us from doing all the work that we normally would do in the spring. And we're working on budgets and staffing and facility planning and all kinds of different pieces as we normally do to get moving into the next school year. One of which, is hiring, and a major hire for us will be that middle school principal, where we'll just be getting a posting out tomorrow after the approval of Mr. Voce's resignation. And just very appreciative of Dan. He's ready to be a great superintendent, and I can't wait to work with him in that capacity. So I'll close my remarks unless you have any other questions.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to approve the agenda. All votes tonight have to be done by roll call, so it's going to take a little bit longer. So I'll be calling everyone for a roll call vote. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
So moved.
I'll
Okay,
second.
motion by Howard, seconded by Deb. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. I'll start. Yes, Howard,
Yes.
Eric, Sue,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Chad.
Yes.
Eric, you're on mute. Was that a yes?
Yes.
I figured.
There you go.
All right, motion carries. All right, discuss and act on the previous board minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Chad, seconded by Howard. Is there any discussion? All right, we will do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Howard,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Yes.
Chad, yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we are moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Seconded by Howard. Motion by Sue, seconded by Howard. Any discussion? Okay. Yes. Howard,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Chad.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the action. We have a resolution for non-renewals. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution for non-renewal of probationary teachers as presented?
So moved.
All second. Motion made by Deb, seconded by Eric Strandberg. Roll call vote. I will start. Yes. Howard,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Chad.
Yes.
Thank you. The next action is teleconferencing of meetings. Do we have a motion to recommend or to accept the recommendation to hold all future meetings via teleconference until further notice?
So moved.
Second.
Is that Sue that seconded?
Yes.
A motion made by Howard, seconded by Sue. Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Yes.
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to the information. Budget impacts, Michelle.
All right, just went through this with finance and thought we'd get this out in front of you a couple weeks early because normally we move everything to the workshop. There's been a lot of talk about funding for schools and what that means. When people hear the governor say that schools will be funded, what he meant was that our general education aid would flow with no problems. So that is not an issue at all, but there are many other funding streams that come into schools and impact the different areas. So I'm just going to walk quickly through each of community ed, food service, and our general fund to give you an idea of what we're looking at. And by no means is this revised budget. It's looking at categories where we know that we would be heavily affected right off the bat. So we'll start with community education, and our revised budget had us at about negative 82,000 for a variance there, meaning our expenses were going to exceed our revenue. So when we sat down in the last 3-4 days here and looked at all of the different areas, community education is going to be affected by revenues, by fees. All of the people that normally come to Tiger Club pay for Tiger Club right now. No one is paying for Tiger Club. We do have our community ed staff working with the child care piece, and we also have some of our paras working. So everybody's being charged to the fund that they are normally in. We'll have some consulting adjustments, so we're not running some events. So we're not going to be paying as many consulting contracts, or will we be paying out as much payroll in instructors should this go through the end of June. So I forgot to say, we're making the assumption that we are not coming back to school this year, right now. So that would mean that our total adjustments would be another $122,000 basically on the expense side of the equation. So that increases our variance by 200 to 200,000. And as you know, community ed does not have a hugely, we have a fund balance, but it's not like it's real robust. So this will be one area that we are going to watch carefully and will most likely affect general education fund when we get to year end. And I know there's lots of talk about moving dollars and fund balance transfers. We aren't going to be making those transfers until year end. Those decisions won't come until much later. It's not like we make the decision now and move the money. We wait to see how everything looks and then make a decision based on what actually occurs. Food service. Our original revised budget here showed us at a negative 93,000. And a good chunk of that is our equipment that we bought for the high school. So we bought a serving line and we bought 2 vending machines that we were all excited to start trying, and we had them up 2 or 3 days, and we are now all at home, so we don't get to use those. But they are there and they were operational before we left. As you can see, food service has a lot of different revenue pots that are kind of big pots. The state pays us a good chunk of money, the federal meal program, just basic meals for each student that eats doesn't have to be on free and reduced. Then we have the big pot of money, free and reduced. And then we have what student meal revenue would have been, or not what, that's not the total, that's what we're anticipating not collecting. Then we had adult meals, and we have special food revenue, which is a la carte, and some banquet revenue that we typically deal with. So there is a lot going on in a short line of revenues there for us this year, or through this shutdown. We are currently working on what we call the food service summer meal program. So I understand that we've had some chatter that how can we afford to feed all these kids when we're not charging them? Well, the reason we can afford that is because the federal government is paying us for each of these meals. They pay us $4.08 for a lunch, and they pay us, I believe, $2.50 for a breakfast. And so we will receive revenue based on the number of breakfasts and lunches that we give out. And right now this number is based on 900 till the end of the year. And if this continues longer, I'm assuming that's going to ramp up. I think we're over 1,000 meals right now. So when you look at the total adjustments right here at a negative 20, that 20,000 would be added to that 93. I have a good feeling that that's going to go away because we're going to ramp up as far as how many people are coming to receive those meals. And our labor is not going to cost us anymore. We're still paying the same amount of labor because we've got all of our staff currently working. The other thing that we did is that we also have the opportunity to provide weekend meals. So they come on, this week it'll be Thursday. We can provide Friday, Saturday, and Sunday meals. And those are all prepared Thursday to go out on Thursday. So we will have no labor staff on the weekend. So those meals will be basically go right to our bottom line. So that's quite the machine. And I think Ben has a picture, maybe Deanna had a picture. Somebody had a picture of what this all looks like with them putting all those meals together. But if you take 1,000, we're putting together 2,000 meals a day times 3 days. We're going to send out 6,000 on Thursday. It's a few bags.
Are most of the meals that you're making, are they being picked up? Is there like a lot of leftovers? Because I'm hearing that in other districts that they request them and then they don't come and get them.
Well, we're just going by the numbers that are showing up. So as it ramps up, we ramp up with it. Deanna hasn't indicated that we have any issue with product. Because one of the things that we're doing is like our remote sites. The reason they're only open an hour is for food safety. So we can get that back into our coolers. So we don't have to waste the product. We also are trying to do a little bit more than just a basic sandwich. So we've got things like chicken nuggets and things like that they can warm up, French toast sticks. One of the things that we talked about as soon as we were shut down is we're looking at all of our freezers. They're plumb full of food, you know, for normal. And like, we're not going to be able to send out maybe a hamburger patty or a chicken patty. There are some of the things like the breakfast things that we could utilize, the chicken nuggets, and they're packaging them up, and there's recipes online to cook them.
But Sue, to answer your question even further, that hasn't been an issue for us at this point. We've had a couple times the opposite where we ran out of food at some of the satellite spots, but so far we haven't had that issue.
All right. The last one is the general education part. Did somebody else have a comment or question? Okay. All right. The general fund analysis, the total variance here that you see, that 1.9 million, that is our restricted and assigned fund balances. Working from home has, you know, Mary and I have had to figure out different ways to do things. So we are, but it doesn't separate as nicely as when you have all of your Microsoft products working the way they're supposed to. So the total variance we subtracted off our reserves and assigned, and you get down to our unassigned variance, that revised budget, which was 1.2 million. And right now, we're just looking at some of the categories that we know are going to be affected. There are going to be others, like I think Ben mentioned officials earlier this evening. They're not on this list. I mean, there's many things we don't have on this list. Probably don't have even what's going to go up in cost. But we know that we're not going to be paying for a spring busing. So we're looking at 66,000 just about there in savings. Palmer, we just went through with finance the proposal regarding an MOU with them, and one of the things that they're giving us is the fuel savings. Now remember, we have quite a few vans on the road currently, so it's not like we get 100% because we still are operating to some extent. They are doing our care and treatment transportation, our food service transportation, and our orange packet transportation for those families that can't get in. So that is 100% of what we would have saved in March. So there'll be an April number there and a May, of course. The big cost here that we will save on hopefully is sub costs, but we can't be 100% sure that we're going to save all of that. We do have some rules coming down with COVID, and we've just got to work through what that will mean in the end. And then of course we're going to lose we refunded all the spring activity fees, and as you see that's really not a huge amount of money. It's only about $23,000 really. So our total budget savings in Fund 1 could be upwards of $350,000 for this year, which brings the new unassigned variance to that 900 mark. Now recall though, community ed is going to take a major hit, and most likely we are going to have to do some covering of those costs during this time. So this would, it's not like I can say this is a hard number. It's our first glance at this after the shutdown. So
All right,
I just
thank
wanted
you.
to have some kind of what does that look like possibly. Any questions, thoughts?
None. All right, thank you, Michelle. Moving on to the current adjustment of budget planning. So the preliminary reduction summary.
You're kind of choppy there, Eric. I'm not sure what you said there.
Did he freeze on it? Am
Yeah.
I froze too?
Yeah, I think it was just Eric.
Okay. All right, so we have in front of you preliminary reduction categories. We're looking at about 678,000 in licensed staff, non-licensed 292. We have some activity reductions of 61, special education reductions around 57, and other stuff 129. So in total, we have identified 1.2 million currently. We have some items on the list. I'll use our property and liability and workers' comp insurance as an example. We don't have those numbers back yet, but we have put in a strong suggestion that we need some savings there. So we're looking for that number as an example, and then we believe we will have some software savings. That's not on this list yet, and hopefully between 2 or 3 numbers that are on the list right now, but I don't have numbers that should bring us to our 1.3. And I'd like to also comment that most of our staff that is on the reduction list, it's not all, but we did pretty good About 600,000 of that is based on retirements, long-term leaves, resignations. So people have chosen or have moved on to their next life. Sometimes they haven't chosen, but circumstances have affected their life. But overall, I think we did a very good job in not affecting too many lives for our staff that we want to keep at Princeton Public Schools. So.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions? All right, moving on to the Princeton Town Road Project.
Okay, I guess I'll take this one. You know, nothing is official at this point. We did, Eric Stramberg, Eric Minks, and I participated in a city council hearing on this matter. We were able to share our thoughts on this. I feel like we gave them our comprehensive view on what some of our concerns might be. I think they heard us loud and clear. A big portion and a big decision that would need to be made is related to if we wanted to give an easement to a cul-de-sac or a turnaround that would go into our property. And the difficult piece with that is they would ask us for the easement, and it would come with a $16,000 price tag of additional costs that we would need to pay for. We've respectfully declined the idea of providing an easement. Therefore, that $16,000 will be reduced from the $82,000 estimate that they provided. So the other piece now then would be in what they would assess us. And from preliminary discussions with the city administrator and from what he's telling me, his conversation with the mayor and other city council members is that there would be some strong consideration on their part to pitch in. The number that he's used up to this point has been $10,000 from the city, which is something that they would not have to do, but that would be them extending an olive branch as a good faith effort to try and work with us through something that we don't necessarily support 100%. So that's the latest update on that. There's still lots more to come. The biggest decision that's been made up to this point is we're not going to support the easement, so they're going to take that piece off of the estimate, and then the assessment piece that's going to come next.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the distance learning update, Jessica.
All right, so warning, on a good day, I'm a glass is half full kind of gal, and this is a real good day. So I'm gonna try and temper my enthusiasm as appropriate for a Zoom meeting here. A couple of things, I will clarify, we do not have a perfect plan, and we every day get better and better at the plan and continuously improving it. And I will also say 3 months ago, what we are pulling off currently would have been unimaginable. So some context around this, I know you've had multiple conversations, just the childcare piece and the meals piece is mind-blowing. My role really is to talk about the academic portion, but I also feel like I need to put that in context because there's a real mind shift around what we were asked to do by MDE was come up with a distance learning plan. And in our world, distance learning, that term comes with a meaning, which basically is some online learning. And that is not really what the situation calls for. What we have going here is an emergency remote learning situation. So we did, as a team, come up with what I think is unbelievable in terms of a detailed plan and a doable plan. And it took, I mean, it was hearts, minds, and all hands on deck in terms of admin and teachers and everybody else in the district to make this work. So the learning portion itself, we did put considerable thought into making sure that our most vulnerable students that we're meeting needs across the board. So when we're thinking about our students experiencing homelessness, we're talking about students who need a 504 plan or an IEP for special education, both of which are categories that allow them services related to disability and access to education, as well as just students who are not academically performing at the same level as their peers on grade level academic items. So our plan, starting with, we do have the Tiger Plan and the Orange Plan. So the Tiger Plan is for the students that are accessing and connecting with teachers electronically. The Orange Plan is for students that are connecting with teachers and accessing the learning not electronically. And that, for the Orange Plan, we've got a pretty intricate distribution system that mirrors our meal distribution system. So there are 14 access points where our families pick up learning every week, in addition to the online learning pieces that are happening. So Orange Plan, Tiger Plan. In addition to thinking through that, we needed to think through how do we help the students that do need individualized education plans for special education, as well as 504 plans. And so Aaron's team has a system in place to revise all 500 IEPs and connect directly with each student. And we've also got a system in place so teachers are making those individual modifications, whether the kids are on the Tiger Plan or the Orange Plan. And point of pride, all of our interventionists. So we have kind of a tiered system of, it's called Math Core, Reading Core, then Title I, and then ADSES interventions. So students that are of varying degrees of not caught up with their peers receive different services. They are all receiving one-on-ones and they are loving it. We are the only district in the state of Minnesota that is providing Reading Core and Math Core interventions. So good stuff is happening all over the place. I'll also enthusiastically support that from the get-go, we have been sending the message that academics takes a second, and it is a very distant second, to the whole child and the social emotional needs of our kids need to feel connected. They need to feel part of the community. We have to be building relationships, not letting them slip. And our teachers have taken on that challenge in unbelievable ways. It is good stuff.
It's awesome. I know my son is still getting his speech services that he was getting every week, so it's awesome to get those services.
Yeah.
Daniel's loving it because school's only an hour and 10 minutes every day now.
I had a quick question on do we have a number for the orange? How many people are on the orange group?
Yeah, the Orange Plan is actually increasing every week. We did anticipate that. The first week we started at 100. We are at 200 now on going for week 3. We just are printing right now.
Oh, okay. And then are all of our hotspots being utilized then as well?
All the hotspots are out with families, yep.
Excellent.
Just a point of information for the board. The hotspots we've had some learning experiences with them. Our original piece, we found that there's only so much data that our hotspots support. And with Zoom meetings, it takes a lot of data. So we were finding that people were running out of data quite early. So we've made some adjustments. I think that we've solved that issue, but that's something that we'll continually monitor.
I suppose there's a cost associated with that as well, right?
Yeah, well, when we originally got those hotspots, it was through a grant, and the grant paid for a chunk of data, which we have been kind of stockpiling over the years and rolling forward. With our current adjustments, the way we're making them, we are planning to use up our data, but the brilliant part is we had it there to use. So So we will not be incurring new costs for that. And with the new plan that we're, messaging teachers to help students prioritize which, like if there is a Zoom that they watch during a day, what is the right Zoom to watch? Or is it better to watch a recording later and prioritize other things with their internet? So we have reached out to every teacher who has students using hotspots in their room so they know which students they need to connect with further and provide some more support.
So
Have we had any incidents of non-students entering Zoom meetings that shouldn't be there?
We have not yet.
With inappropriate stuff going on?
We have had an incident where students have created their own Zoom meeting. So now that they know this tool exists, they're going out there with non-student accounts and doing other things, which, we have control and provide guidance over what they're doing with our things. And that is
so security is where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are making sure that the Zoom meetings are password protected and that we're not publishing links to Zooms outside of our classrooms. Those types of precautions we are taking.
One of the huge benefits that we have, if we have a great teaching and learning department, I mean, we have so many gifted and talented people there. Jessica, you can just see as evidenced by her sharing today, and she just scratched the surface of some of the things that are happening. And we have Jody Burling, technology integrationist, that has just been amazing to have her, and she's been helping us navigate those waters of the Zoom pieces, and we've really been a leader in that area as well. And our IT folks and our interventionists, I think the one piece that has just been so just such a point of pride, and it fills us with pride to see every department fulfills a specific role and responsibility to meeting our mission and accomplishing our goals with this new normal. And everybody's doing their part. Everybody is stepping above, rising above, and without exception, right? And I really can't say enough the leadership that we have providing support has just been unprecedented. And there's lots of challenges that every one of our department leaders, and you look even on the screen, I mean, Jason and HR, I mean, challenges like crazy. Michelle continuing on with the budget pieces and all the new changes there, and Jessica and Keith in building and grounds, and Deanna in food service, and all of our principals. I mean, just and then all the folks that they're working with. It's been incredible. And we're trying to stay in tune with our continuous improvement plan while we're doing that. We still can make connections to that, to our work in student learning, to our work with positive climate and culture, and then also our MTSS work. That's all happening a little bit differently, and we're also needing to make plans for the future for next year. So we're not forgetting that work. I will say that Jessica, she didn't spend a lot of time on this, but some of her most recent work has been in the climate and culture area. Jess, maybe I see your hands up. Why don't you, I'm sorry. Jessica's using her hand, and it's your portion of the agenda. Sorry, Jessica. Go ahead, and why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing with climate and culture?
Sure. SEL is a buzzword, so social and emotional learning, but really focusing on what are students' social needs, emotional needs, their mental health needs. And it's very clear that we're in an emergency situation. A pandemic is going to create some disturbances for all of us socially and emotionally and mentally and physically, etc. And so Gary Locke and I, he's our cultural liaison, have been working over the weekend to make sure that we have resources embedded in our website to provide support to parents, caregivers, teachers, all of us, for those social emotional pieces. So there is like some knock your socks off kinds of stuff coming out this Thursday in the Skylert, including an article that Gary has written regarding everyday trauma and what we're all going through right now. So strong resources will be available there. I didn't mention, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned in relation to our Spanish immersion programming, that our teachers are making sure that students are engaging in Spanish language every day. So even kids who have that orange plan, printed plan, our Amities are phone calling kids and having conversations with them in Spanish over the phone for 20 minutes a piece every day, just so they hear it and practice it. For Tiger Club, that has been another unanticipated challenge, but we've got kids all day whose parents are out working, and we can't have the parents come home after a long day and then they've got to sit down and try and figure out distance learning with their kids. So our paras and our child care workers are doing orange plans and tiger plans with the kids during Tiger Club. So that's been another challenge to help paras find what are the materials all the kids need. When you have 5 different teachers in a room, 5 kids, that means up to 5 different teachers. And what is that, what time do they have to Zoom, and what can they all do the same, and what do they need to do differently? It's been a cool thing to watch unfold. I will say MDE and our thinking, it seems like every time they come out with some guidance, we have just thought through the same things and come to the same conclusions. So we're kind of paralleling the work, but it's really reassuring when they send out guidance and it's like just what we told people. So that's feeling really, really on track. I think that I also want to say something in relation to what Ben started talking about before this new situation occurred. We as a district were really on track with prioritizing what we're calling the big rocks. So student learning, our climate and culture, our MTSS process to make sure that we're identifying what is it that kids need and making sure they get that, and then our operations. I think because those were the things we were already talking about, and then in an emergency, they were the right things to talk about, we were able to move quicker than some other districts. And I also know that because we did the Flex Learning Days last year and had that learning curve under our belt, so that also gave us great traction. So when we look around, not to compare, but when we compare what we've got going on in Princeton versus surrounding districts, we are ahead. And I think in addition to the great people we've got here, it's because we've done that prioritization already, that we're focused on the right things.
Thanks, Jess.
Mhm.
Thank you. I know my neighbor across the street teaches in Mora, and they're not even close to what we're doing. It's a joke.
Well, we've always been ahead of the curve on stuff, or at least we tried.
I'm just not hearing anything but such positive, and so kudos to you. And again, comparing what I hear from other districts where my grandkids are and things, you guys are just doing phenomenal, and I am so proud of what I see every day.
It's amazing what we have going on here, and it's a testament to everyone that is involved from the top all the way on down, and kudos to everyone.
All right, moving on. There are no additions to the agenda. Future meetings are listed below. And we have a motion to close the meeting to discuss negotiation strategies.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Eric, seconded by Howard.
Yep.
Yes, Howard?
Yes.
Yes. Eric?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And Chad?
Yes.
Okay, Emily is going to stop recording the meeting, I believe.